Welcome, everyone. Thank you to everyone who is watching on Facebook or after on our podcast or YouTube. I'm really excited today to have Olivia Gerth with us. For those of you who don't know, Olivia is a staff attorney at Mercy for Animals, an international nonprofit working to build a more compassionate and sustainable food system. In her role, she advises on legal matters that arise concerning the organization's transactions, development, operations, and compliance. Olivia is a licensed attorney in New York and a graduate of the University of Florida and Georgetown Law. She's a member of the American Bar Association Animal Law Committee and enjoys yoga, hiking with her rescue pup, and exploring vegan cooking in her free time. So, with that, welcome, Olivia.
Thank you so much, Emma. I'm so happy to be here. So thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks for coming on. I wanted to start off by asking you what inspired you to pursue a career in animal advocacy?
Definitely. So it's definitely been a journey that has gotten me to where I am today. And probably like you and many of your viewers, I've always had a passion and a love for animals, insects, you name it, ever since I was young. My parents joke that as a kid, I would take worms that had been washed onto the sidewalk after rainstorms and bring them into the grass. So from a very young age, I also felt that there was just a disconnect between what animals we choose to cherish in our homes versus the animals we choose to put on our plates. So I was a vegetarian for a long time before becoming vegan, and that was really on and off since childhood. But the major shift for me occurred once I was in college and read a number of books, watched a number of films just about industrial agriculture. And this really opened my eyes to the extreme suffering our factory farm system causes to animals, among many other injustices that pertain to the health of our people and the health of our planet. So, fast forward, I went to law school to pursue criminal law. And while I was there, I had the opportunity to have a legal internship with the Humane Society of the United States. And I did some work for their farmed animal advocacy group, as well as cosmetic testing on animals. And this was really the first time that I was exposed to the idea that I could have a career for animals other than being a veterinarian, that I could combine two of my passions, law and animals, together. So I ultimately pursued criminal law, but I remained very interested and dedicated to animal advocacy. And in my previous roles, I saw animal abuse perpetrated by individuals and thought my work is very reactive to individualized violence against animals. Can I be more impactful by being proactive to prevent animal cruelty on a larger scale? And at the same time, COVID had just changed the world. So I was having this existential conversation with myself that I'm sure many of us had, about the future of our planet, how our future as a people is interconnected with how we treat one another, how we treat our animals, how we treat our environment, and ultimately how changing the food system, the largest source of animal cruelty and one of the largest drivers of climate change, would be the work to change this. So this is what led me to Mercy for Animals, and I've been here for now just over 2 years, and I'm very grateful for this journey that brought me to this animal advocacy career.
Thank you for sharing.
Yeah.
Well, now that you are at Mercy for Animals, could you tell us like an overview of the organization and its mission?
Yes, absolutely. So Mercy for Animals is, like you said, an international nonprofit, and we encourage compassion over cruelty in really all respects. But we work to end the exploitation of animals in industrial animal agriculture so that we're living in a world where animals are respected, they're protected, and they're free. Our mission is to construct a just and sustainable food system, one that really embraces nurturing our bodies, nurturing our minds and our spirits with wholesome, healthy food that's kind to all animals, which is central to our work, but also kind to the planet and all living beings. And we do this work through a number of different initiatives. We do undercover investigations, legal advocacy, government and policy work, corporate and public engagement, as well as organizing. And the idea is really that by working together and tackling this issue from all different angles, we can really elevate humanity to its fullest potential, which is ultimately essential to the future of our planet and all of those who share it. Um, and just fun fact, we just celebrated our 25th anniversary in April. So very exciting.
Wow, very cool. Yeah, I have my Mercy for Animals shirt on, so I'm a big fan of the work that
Love
you guys do.
it.
Yeah. Well, you talked a little bit about your background, but could you tell us any more about how you came to join Mercy for Animals and then what your role looks like?
Yeah, absolutely. So I touched on this a little bit earlier, that I was really just connecting the dots between the biggest impact of animal cruelty, of our planet's health, and our people's health, and that's our food system. So once I made this connection, I realized that for me, it wasn't enough just to not partake in this system, but I really wanted to help change it. So that's what led me to Mercy for Animals. I was very aligned with their mission. And as a staff attorney for Mercy for Animals, I work as in-house counsel with our legal team. So this means that I work directly for Mercy for Animals, and Mercy for Animals is my one and only client. I advise on legal matters that essentially arise in our day-to-day operations. And this includes legal advice and guidance on a variety of legal issues. It could be nonprofit law and compliance, tax law, contract drafting and negotiations, intellectual property and copyright law, data privacy, so many different areas of the law that impact running a nonprofit, as well as analyzing business and legal risks so that I can help provide guidance to mitigate risk or to assist in strategic decision making for the organization. And it's really a lot of fun, not just because I'm working for the animals, but because I get to do a lot of different things. And I like to use the phrase jack of all trades, master of none, just because my day really just depends on what the organization needs, which gets more and more interesting as we continue to grow and get more creative with bringing awareness to the reality of factory farming.
Definitely. I was going to say, as you listed off all the things you specialize in or that you work on, like, oh my gosh, usually people just have like this one, thing that they work on. So that's really impressive that you do all of that.
It's a team effort and it definitely keeps things exciting.
Yes, that's a good positive way to look at it. I wanted to know, what does a just and sustainable food system look like to you? And what do you think are the steps to achieve it?
So I really envision Mercy for Animals vision, where it's truly a system that's just and sustainable for everybody. Right now, we feed 80 billion land animals a year for the food system, but we can't seem to feed 8 billion people. So just and sustainable means to me not only that animals are not used and abused in unfathomable ways, but that we're really taking a holistic approach and deeply focusing on the health of our communities and our people, the health of our planet, that laborers and farmers are not taken for granted, and that our land use is in alignment with our planetary boundaries. And in order to achieve this, I think that Mercy for Animals does a really great job on focusing on all of these changes from different perspectives. This work really requires building a coalition of not just animal lovers, but environmentalists, those that care about workers' rights, public health advocates, and taking all of these stakeholders, bringing awareness to the cruel reality of factory farming, how it's really impacting our people and our planet, and then proposing and effectuating an actual alternative to the system that we have now.
Yes, definitely. Can you tell us a little bit about how your legal background helps you in your work?
Yeah, absolutely. So I touched on a little bit how my background really helps with the day-to-day operations of Mercy for Animals. There's a lot of legal compliance required in the nonprofit realm to ensure that an organization is operating within the bounds of state and federal and at times international law. Mercy for Animals, we are an activist organization as well, so that we are doing what we can with our mission to make the world a better place. And the factory farm industry is a very powerful industry. So it's really important that we're able to best protect ourselves so that we're able to push our work forward. So I think that my legal background it gives me this extra layer of critical review to help understand when there's not just a moral issue that we're facing, but a legal one as well. So I'd say it's this additional insight and ultimately another tool in our toolbox as we strategize for the future that we're fighting for, which is truly a nourishing food system without harm.
Yes, very nice. Um, could you discuss any recent legal victories or important cases you worked on that have advanced animal rights and the
Yes.
movement?
Yeah, I'd love to. We actually have a recent legal victory. So about a year and a half ago, we released this undercover investigation of a municipal slaughterhouse in Brazil. And our legal team used the evidence from that investigation and presented a claim to the region's public prosecutor's office, noting that there were a number of issues in this facility related to sanitation, the environment, and animal welfare issues as well. And after presenting this claim to the prosecutor's office held meetings with slaughterhouse administrators, other stakeholders, and discussed this for really over a year and a half. Um, so this past February, we actually received news that the slaughterhouse had closed. And it was really empowering for our team, for our movement, because it shows that our investigation, our work really can have concrete results in protecting all beings that are still being exploited in the food system and can actually bring the slaughter lines to a literal halt. So we were very excited about that.
Very cool. That's a huge
Yeah,
one. It's always good to hear when there's successes.
definitely.
Was that like an undercover investigation or like how did they get that footage or
It was one of our undercover
oh,
investigations. Yes.
okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay. Very cool. Um, let's see. What are some current trends in animal law that give you hope for the future?
Yeah, I love this question because I think sometimes it can get easy to get bogged down, and there really is a lot of really hopeful things out there. So I think that a huge first step is getting other people to see animals as other than just commodities or property, but other beings like us that experience thoughts, emotions, feelings like joy and happiness, but also suffering. And a starting point, in my opinion, is the legal recognition of animal sentience, a formal legal acknowledgement that non-human animals are beings with thoughts and feelings and individual personalities. The research and science supports this. Our everyday interactions with animals supports this. And this legal recognition of animal sentience, while I don't think it'll overcome all of our prejudices about animals, is an important starting point, and it's undergoing a lot of change. Um, for example, we're seeing more and more countries adding animal sentience to their laws and constitutions. New Zealand, Spain, and the United Kingdom in the last few years have recognized certain animals as sentient beings that are owed various responsibilities and considerations. More recently, in May, the Belgian federal parliament actually voted to amend the country's constitution to ensure the protection and well-being of animals as sentient beings, not belongings. Belgium joins Germany, Italy, Austria, and a number of other European Union countries that have all included protection for sentient animals in their country's constitutions. America nationally is not there yet, but we are seeing these changes on a state level. And I think that, like we see with lots of other social justice movements, whether it be civil rights or environmentalism, society and the law go hand in hand, and they change together, sometimes in tandem, sometimes one before the other. And I'm hopeful that these changes, that these official government actions, especially on a global scale, will help bring not just a change to society's obligations to animals, but also society's perspective of them too. Because once we accept that animals do feel joy and gratitude, but also pain and distress, we accept that we owe them a responsibility to show them dignity and respect as well.
Absolutely. It feels like it's a little bit delayed. Like, it sounds like it's obviously moving in the right direction and we'll get there, but it's like, oh my gosh.
Right. I
Don't
totally agree.
don't like dogs and cats and pets, do they have like certain rights that farm animals don't or
It depends on the country and sometimes the state. Generally in America, most animals are seen as property. But again, it varies by state and is and country by country too.
interesting. Okay.
Hmm.
Um, could you explain this new transformation project and its significance in the fight against factory farming?
Yeah. So part of wanting to create a just and sustainable food system is proposing an alternative. So Mercy for Animals launched TransFARMation in 2019 as an alternative to our current factory farming system. So factory farming is a system of raising animals for food using intensive methods where we're strictly confining them in controlled, unnatural conditions that are generally indoors. The TransFARMation project works to remove barriers for farmers wanting to transition from factory farming, like raising pigs or chickens, to raising specialty crops or plants or vegetables. TransFARMation is a farmer-led movement. Its mission is to build build power sufficient to actualize this just and sustainable food system that we've been talking about. And the project really creates modes of alternative economic opportunity. It builds solidarity with other movements and really helps shift the societal narrative so that this alternative system will become the system.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Um, what challenges do farmers face when transitioning to plant-based agriculture, and how does Mercy for Animals assist them?
Yeah, so I also really like this question just because I think the challenges that farmers face needs to be elevated in our movement. We need to talk about it more. So farmers have long expressed dissatisfaction with the current contract system for a very long time, which does not pay or treat them fairly and keeps farmers trapped by debt in the system and also with a lack of alternative economic opportunities. Workers who are in slaughterhouses as well as meat processing plants, they also face abuse, they face exploitation, as well as unsafe working conditions. And even further, mental health challenges like depression, which are often not discussed in rural communities, they're a big problem among farmers. American farmers actually have a suicide rate that's 3.5 times higher than the general public's. So with TransFARMation, we assist farmers by partnering with them to repurpose their factory farms for growing plants. We provide resources and support to farmers interested in transitioning in a number of different ways. One of the projects that I've been able to work on has been building out our research and innovation grants. And these grants help farmers overcome some of the initial financial barriers that would otherwise prevent them from pursuing something new. Our transformation website highlights some of these exciting projects and showcases their repurposing of the farms and repurposing of what they already have to begin growing something new like mushrooms and plants and other crops. Um, our team then creates with the resources that we create and the data that we collect. We make it accessible to other farmers and other organizations so that others can help facilitate these widespread farm transitions. The factory farming movement is such a deep problem that's so deeply entrenched in our governmental systems that it's kind of too big to be dismantled by our movement alone, which is why I think it's so important for us to work together to overcome challenges, bring awareness, and pave the way for something new and something viable.
Definitely. I think that it's the transformation project is so cool. And when I first heard of it, that was my first time even thinking of the farmers that if we remove, if we start to shut down slaughterhouses and other factory farming things, like, well, where do they go? And, so I think that's really cool. And I'm glad that we got to talk about it and bring awareness as well. Um,
Definitely.
yeah, what are some of the success stories from it so far that you can share with us?
Yeah, so we have a number of farmers that are currently enrolled with transformation. They're all in various stages. One family I can highlight today is the Halley Farm. The Halley Farm it used to be a chicken farm, and they used to raise about 6 flocks of chicken a year. And just for perspective, there's around 200,000 chickens in one flock. So that was over 1 million chickens per year being produced just by one farm. So after facing financial hardship as contract farmers and some unfortunate health issues, the Halley family decided that they wanted to transition to growing hemp, and they teamed up with our transformation team. The Halleys outfitted their chicken houses, and they had their first successful harvest in 2020. The Halleys also have a portion of their farm that's dedicated as an animal rescue, where they're working with dogs and also donkeys to help them find homes. And I would just encourage our listeners to go to the transformationproject.org, where they can see more of our work, more of our farmer profiles, because there's a number of other amazing farmers that we're working with. And I'd love to just showcase the awesome work that we're accomplishing together.
Absolutely. Definitely, when we work in the animal advocacy space, any bits of good news are like gold. So that's really amazing. Um, we talked about a lot of different things, but what message would you like to leave with our listeners about the importance of animal advocacy and the sustainable food system, like you mentioned?
Yeah, so I think that in order for us to really effectuate change for animals, we really need to focus on collaboration. Where can we reach people that we may have overlooked? I think I spoke to this a little bit earlier, but animals aren't focused on who it is that's helping them and why. What matters is that they're being helped. How do we expect to empower people to show compassion for all animals if we can't show compassion for all people? So I think that while animal rights and welfare is at the forefront of our work, we need to unite animal lovers with environmentalists, public health advocates, workers' rights advocates, so that we can expose the system for what it truly is, a system that's harming all of us, no matter who we are. And this movement, we really need diverse talent, backgrounds, and skill sets. So my message is that no matter who you are, you're welcome. And I think that this is how we'll be able to make a lasting impact for all animals, all people, and as of now, our only planet.
Yes, definitely. Um, well, thank you so much for sharing all that and
Absolutely.
all the questions and everything. It was really interesting. Where can people find more information about Mercy for Animals? You mentioned the Transformation Project, but mention it again and I'll put it wherever this video is.
Yeah, thanks so much again for having me, Emma. So people can go to mercyforanimals.org. That's our website where they can check out all of the different work and progress that we're making. You can sign up for our newsletter to keep yourself updated with our work. Mercy for Animals is also on various social platforms like Instagram and Facebook, so you can check us out there. And then thetransformationproject.org is where our transformation team's information is located. They're also on major social media platforms as well. And just a quick plug, I would say that there's just so many ways to get involved with us, whether it be local action, online action, become a volunteer. We'd love to hear from you and we'd love to have you.
Beautiful. I will make sure to put those links wherever this video is so people can get involved and learn more. And before we leave here, I did just want to say a couple reminders. We are still at Shamayim. We are still recruiting for our Synagogue Vegan Challenge. We're going to be starting our 8th cohort at the end of August slash early September. And then we are also recruiting for our campus fellowship. So you can go on our website, which will be wherever this video is, and apply for those. So don't miss out on those opportunities. And also tonight, Shavuot begins. So happy Shavuot to everyone, and have a beautiful rest of your day.